Welcome to the January 14th Board of Selectmen meeting. Call the meeting to order. First order of business is minutes of approve the minutes from the December 10th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion is carried. Next item of business is the public safety compensation study and recommendations.
We have Carrie Mayer back with us. She's going to, this will be part 2, Public Safety 2020 Recommended Salary Structure. Brief report, a brief overview and questions, answers about that. And so welcome, Carrie, again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the first part of the project that we showed last month was the 2019 salary study. After the completion of that study, it was requested that we update the 2016 salary structure to reflect the new and updated market data, and also to provide some strategies for recruitment and retention. So the salary structure from 2016 was updated. We used the midpoint from the survey results, factoring in some best practices to create the new midpoint of the salary structure, and then we used a percentage change to create the full scale to obtain the minimum and the maximum of the salary structure.
One question for, was that 2018 data or 2016?
The data in the new,
In this report? Because it's saying it says 2016.
yes, well, it was the original salary structure was from 2016.
Okay.
Published at the beginning of 2016, so now.
Yeah, I told Rolf earlier, I didn't know if you were going to be presenting that, and then you did an updated report later in the afternoon. So originally, I didn't know if we were going to be, that was going to be a question that might come up, is 2016 versus 2020.
Yes. I
So
provided a copy of both so they can see the changes.
Right, so but originally we were talking about a slightly different approach, but I like this approach better, but Rita and I both thought it was better.
Where'd you get that one?
So that may be the confusion, I don't know.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, then we also added the positions that were not included in the 2016 report, which was more of a comprehensive town report. It didn't go into every single position, especially within the fire and rescue department. So we added those positions. In the file in the report, there's a list of the positions that were added. I don't need to go through each individual one, but mostly the junior firefighting and EMT positions. In the report, you'll see the updated salary structure with the midpoints that have been updated from 2016, and then as well the updated minimum and maximum for each position. I've also added information into grade 2 and 3, which were originally blank in the 2016 report, as there were no employees currently in those positions based on the population from that initial report. You can see that there's a natural progression of grades based on supervisory responsibilities, levels, training, certifications, etc. And then in terms of per diem, they would fall within their respective ranges based on individual certifications and trainings. For the current employees and how they fit into the salary structure, most fall pretty nicely into the updated salary structure. There was one firefighter that was less than 10 cents below the range, so that may need a review, or maybe at the next salary increase, that's something that will probably be corrected. Based on these initial recommended structures, the positions of lieutenant and captain may need to be reviewed, and a market adjustment may need to be implemented. That's something that we can talk more about at a different time to review the strategy for that. The final recommendation is to update the deputy fire chief from a grade 6 to a grade 7. So when I went through and I added the new positions to the report, I reviewed your position evaluation plan that was developed in 2016 to check for parity of the prior positions that were on the report, but also to figure out where the new positions fall in terms of the grades. And I used that as guidance for the new positions. I did use some judgment call because the position evaluation plan was built off of the original positions that were included in the 2016 report. So it didn't necessarily reflect the trainings and certifications required for the junior police, fire and rescue staff. So in terms of that, I used a little bit of judgment call to figure out where they should fall within the grades. And then finally, I checked the collective bargaining agreement to make sure that there weren't any outliers that would cause some challenges there. And as general guidance, salary structures should be reviewed annually to see if there's any major changes within the market. And then you should probably do a larger update every 2 to 3 years to make sure you're keeping pace with the market. In terms of employee recruitment strategies, there's a lot of different things that you can do to reach a broader audience. You want to try to utilize social media. Some public safety departments in the state of Maine and in other states have really made a presence for themselves online with some creative messaging and storytelling about their time through Facebook groups. You could use Instagram, share pictures of trainings, maybe some big meals that you host at the firehouse, some really interesting cultural work-life balance types things that you could share with the community and get people interested and excited about joining. You can use Craigslist as an additional way to recruit. I don't know if you currently use that. Job fairs, visiting high schools, vocational schools, colleges, and you can also do community communication. So if there's a local newspaper, you can use bulletin boards, you can offer community education such as CPR classes, fire prevention classes, and that reaches, each of those different things will reach a different audience. And in terms of enhancing the people that you're reaching, you can offer hiring bonuses and then employee referral bonuses. So offering your current employees referral bonuses to recommend their friends and
Well,
Yes.
I actually like that one. I think, you know, a referral bonus or a hiring sign-on bonus, providing that people stay for a
Right.
prescribed amount of time. I think that's an interesting idea. We do have some level of social media presence now. We could certainly enhance it. We have a community newsletter that goes out in the Wyndham Eagle, but I really like that one.
Okay, and we can talk through a little bit more about how to actually implement that and what makes sense in terms of timing, if that's something you guys want to pursue.
I think for entry-level people, you know, young people, maybe people who are retired or have, you know, the time to do it, I mean, I think that might be something, you know, certainly it might be newsworthy and might be a bit of a hook too.
Absolutely. Anything to draw people in, get them a little bit excited to at least start talking to you. That's what you want.
It worked for the Army for a while.
Right. Yes. So in terms of retaining employees, there's also a lot of different avenues that you can pursue for that. There's some interesting kind of employee engagement, work-life balance type things you can do. You can offer financial education if you're looking to recruit and retain some younger employees into the fire and rescue department, and they could benefit from having some financial education. So you could have maybe a local professor or teacher from the high school come and talk to them about personal finance, how to use their retirement plan, have one of the retirement plan advisors come and talk to them regularly. You can have flu shots brought to the office because the schedules they change on a regular basis. People are on call. Maybe they don't have time to go and get their flu shot. Maybe offering pet insurance for people. Stress management programs, it's a pretty high stress environment, so offering little benefits like that. Clothing allowances, paid trainings, annual bonuses. Spot bonuses are always very interesting. If you have somebody who's going above and beyond, you can always do a small spot bonus to say thank you for helping out. Looking into your retirement benefits package is something that we talked about in the prior report. Offering part-time employees access to benefits, which is something that I've seen some other towns offer. And then finally, conducting some stay interviews with your current staff to figure out what they would like to see. So overall, there's a lot of different things that the town of Raymond can do to kind of enhance their total compensation package. And it's really a mixture of each of those things that's going to help you hire people and keep those people that you want to keep. And that's the end of it. If you have any questions, let me know. And if you want to continue talking about any particular item, either here or offline, we can continue to do that.
The questions I had, you know, is on the retention side, you know, the bullets that you've got there. how many other of the towns we're comparing against are offering any of those options?
I would have to go back and check the report on that, but a lot of this stuff is more of something that you can really use to set yourself apart. So they
Right.
may not be offering it, but if you
Right.
want to.
Well, that's, I mean, because that's.
To my knowledge.
You know, if we're just Me Tooing,
Yeah.
Right.
that doesn't do
No.
as much for you as if you're doing something that's unique.
To my knowledge, no, on most of those things.
I would agree. I would have to confirm with the report, but I didn't see a lot of this stuff in the responses.
Questions?
How do you get from step 1 to step 2?
In the salary structure, so I think the way that you're currently using it is based on performance reviews.
Correct.
So if there's a performance review rated a certain way, it's kind of like a promotion.
And that's assumed on an annual basis.
Yes.
What's your opinion on salary compaction and how it applies to this here? Or how it would apply?
Right, that's an important consideration and something which is a reason why I say it should be reviewed annually. So you're giving people raises every year. You also need to see how the market is changing every year. In the greater Portland area, there's just over a 2% unemployment rate. So employers are increasing their salaries, people are moving from job to job, which is increasing their salaries when they're looking. So it creates a lot of challenges in the market, especially with the unemployment as it stands. So you want to make sure you have a wide spread within your salary grade. So 30% spread is a good metric to look at. But then also you should be reviewing your midpoints every year to make sure that they're staying in line with the market. And that should help with the compaction issues.
Done. Teresa?
I'm just taking it in. I guess I'm trying to figure out too is not recreating the wheel, because I know there's a lot of other fire departments that are all running into this same thing. So looking at this, I'm just looking at the salary increase from the 216 to 217. Where are we at now? And I'd have Kathy and Rita would know this, is where are we at now based on pay compared to these things? Because I know last year the 13,000 was to bring us up. Good.
I think you addressed that briefly. You said that for most classifications, we fit well within the new classification system. There may be some, anomalies that need to be looked at, but so I think we're more back, in my mind, we might be, there's some adjustments that need to be made, but we're back more to what Rolf was talking about throughout, and that is how do we distinguish ourselves from the others? What kind of incentives can we offer? What can we do different from other entities? But in general, I don't want to speak for you, but it seems like the scales align fairly well.
Because you only mentioned two. You mentioned one, you mentioned two. There was the deputy chief, and there was one other one that said that 10 cents for one of the employees. So we're there then as far as the pay go, but it's not looking that way from 2016 to 2020.
Well, because what you've seen since 2016, and I'll let Kathy correct me if I'm wrong on this, although we haven't updated the tables, you've had a merit system, you've seen, varying levels of increase within varying classifications, and so.
So I'm missing that middle piece, is what it is. Nope.
Probably,
Yep,
I
okay.
think.
Nope.
Is that
That's
correct?
what I
I mean,
thought.
that's what you're
Okay.
not seeing, is that, it's not that was 2016, this is
Right.
now, there's been.
There's a lot in the middle that we're caught
I mean, there are
up. Okay.
some classifications within the town that, that didn't move, but for the most part, positions moved and people performed well and they got, increases that would, although not be consistent as a COLA would be, they would be moving them through what we would call the steps or the scales.
Okay.
Although it's not done that way, we don't say, oh geez, that's the next step. So it makes it a little confusing because you're combining what I think would be hopefully an aggressive pay plan with a straight merit system, which is a little unusual.
And I don't know if this is the right time to ask this question. One thing I don't see in here at all, as far as offering something different, what about on-call people and what other stations offer their call people to sign up? Did you cover anything in that at all?
I did not
Okay.
see anything reported in the results of the salary,
Oh, really? Okay.
the survey, I mean.
I was just thinking that could be something that we do differently here too. is-
I just really, I mean, we haven't discussed this in great detail, but I guess I've already expressed my interest in the notion, and we have to figure out what makes sense and what length of time would make sense to measure one's, tenure in the department. But I really like the idea of the sign-on bonus, the idea of a recruitment bonus. And I like it better for the employee than for the referral, although the referral may be something too. But I think that's a really interesting idea. I think that is something we could actually get some, traction, media traction. We talked earlier about another entity that does a lot of things that cause them to get external attention, a police department in Maine. And so I don't know if we want to have the duck of compensation or whatever, but we, the duck of justice, I guess, for the city of Bangor. They've gotten a lot of interest in their department, in their mission, in their, I guess, activities through being creative and utilizing the media. I think that the sign-on bonus is something we could work with that way.
Right, and you can apply it to any type of employee. So per diems or call members, you can structure it so maybe not necessarily a hiring bonus. Well, you could do a hiring bonus, but you could also do a performance bonus. So if they cover X number of shifts, or if they work for you X number of days per month or per year, you can say, you've worked with us this amount, you've committed to working with this town, we appreciate that, here's a bonus.
You know what I don't know about is, because we still use the antiquated term volunteer. I mean, there is a volunteer element of it, but it's compensated volunteerism, if that makes any sense. So I wonder how many people really actually who aren't brought up in and that's how a lot of public safety people historically have come to us over my tenure, certainly, and I think historically, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're born into it to some degree. I mean, he started when he was a teenager, and so he knew what it was all about. His dad was a trooper, he was around it, and so people around it seem to gravitate to it. But if you don't know anything about it, and, you see a thing that says volunteers needed, you might say, well, I'm busy enough. I don't need to volunteer my time.
They don't realize
But
it
if you
comes
had an
with
interest and you
compensation.
knew you were going to have some compensation, maybe you'd change your mind.
Right, and that's part of the messaging that I call out in the report. If you're messaging it in a way that people understand the benefits of working with the fire department in a volunteer manner, then you might get more people talking to you.
Yeah, I like it. I can see us putting a recruitment poster or notice together with a bunch of these elements, and hopefully that would be more attractive than what we've been doing.
Absolutely. There's a lot of different things you guys can do to get the word out there and make it interesting, make people want to come and say, what can I do? How can we work together? What are you offering?
Other questions? Teresa?
No, good, thanks.
If you have questions, we can get them to Carrie, and I'm sure she would be happy to answer them after the meeting.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Drive safely on.
Be careful.
We don't want to send Bruce out to find you.
Thank you.
I think we're going to see a mass exodus. Yeah. Drive safely all.
Thank you.
Next item is consideration of auto recycling business. Who's running that one?
Do you want the homeowner, or do you want me up there first?
Yeah, you
Give
can
us
give a little
overview.
background on it. I
Give
think.
us the background on it and then,
Well, Mr. Peterson came forward to ask for a recycler's license based on that the state has changed. He's always done this. The state has changed the regulation and we're requiring to get a recycler's permit to continue. He came forward, asked what he needed to do. Like I said, he's been compliant with the land ordinances. He hasn't, like I said, it's always been a sales and car repair dealership. He was back in the 80s given the ability to do some body work there, so that still exists. So basically, it's kind of like the state has changed it so that he has to come in front and get a recycler's license to continue.
If I understand this correctly, it's business as usual for you.
Correct.
The law has changed, where
gotta
you
go.
cannot,
Yeah, we need you to go up.
sorry.
It's on TV, that's why.
Sorry, this one.
It's not for us, it's for the
Right.
people watching on TV.
That's fine.
'Cause they can't hear you from back there.
You're doing the same thing you've done for years.
Exactly.
The law has changed by saying that in order to reconstruct a salvaged titled car, you now need a license to do that. Am I understanding that?
You're exactly right.
Okay.
And we're the licensing entity, not the state?
No, well, he still has to go through state, but he has to prove that we give him approval
Right.
prior
Okay.
to.
So both,
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
And I'm assuming that the facility complies with all.
yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, this would be a approving, if you do approve this, it would be to grant Scott the authority to sign it as a codes officer.
Yep.
And I'm assuming he did sign the application, the one that's in here is unsigned.
That was part of it. He does have to sign that. And trying to get it ahead of you, ahead of time,
Yeah,
it was
that is
relevant
fine.
that we did it that way
Yeah.
rather than,
You don't
Just
have
so-
it done.
Just so nothing comes back later.
No.
and-
No.
yeah.
So how many are you allowed to have down there? Does it say? Or,
How many used cars?
yeah.
Well, let me just make it clear. I mean, so this salvage license thing, I want to make sure that you guys understand, we're not opening a junkyard. Like I say, we're doing business as usual. I think I'm allowed probably 20 used cars down there on the lot, which I very rarely have that many. The used car thing is more of a secondary business to me anyways. So.
Okay. No, I'm just asking because you don't know, maybe 2-3 years down the line, you want to turn it into something different.
No, and I mean, if you guys want to put any clauses in, like I say, I'm not opening a junkyard, we're not stripping cars out and selling parts. We're basically reconstructing cars and reselling them to the public, so, absolutely business as usual. Like I said, it's the only thing that's changed is the law and the way that we're doing things. And I don't even understand, I'm not quite sure why they've changed it, to be honest with you.
Scott, would you keep it the
So they
same? Or
give
would
them
you add anything
another license
in it?
fee.
Excuse me?
Exactly.
2 or 3 years I've been by there, I mean, I don't, if he keeps as is, I don't see where there's a problem with it. I mean, he is limited just for the size of his
The
yard.
size of the
Right.
lot, yeah.
So that does limit him quite a bit. As far as bringing in other vehicles, he's definitely would have to keep it, the upkeep on it in order to continue.
Okay.
He was prior to, there wasn't any site plan. This has been there for quite a while, so there's nothing as far as, I mean, he has painted lines on his parking lot. You could go by the parking spaces that are allowed there, but I mean,
That's cool.
it is, like I said, there really was no site plan in the folder at all.
Okay. All right. Do you need a motion on this?
Yep.
So I make a motion to approve the auto recycling business with the new addition as far as the state law goes regarding salvage.
Well, essentially, we're approving Scott to grant the license.
Scott to print the license?
No, not to print the license, to approve the license.
Oh, and also, yeah.
The motion, I think, is to allow Scott to enter into, to approve the license.
Right. That's what it is.
But I think we also have to prove,
I don't think we approved the business, he's already got the business.
Yeah, it's already
He
there.
already
I mean,
said
it's
We're
just the,
approving Scott.
We're
We're giving Scott the authority
I'm
to.
going home. Yeah, but they said.
So
Would
that's
you
the
like to
vote.
Basically
hear the
approving
view-
Scott's signature.
That's the
I
motion.
guess.
Are you
Yeah.
I'm
seconding?
seconding it, yes.
All in favor?
Okay, all in favor? Opposed?
Thank you.
In other words, just
Thank
give
you.
it to me. There you go.
Thank you very much.
I'll give you a call when it's,
Okay.
probably gonna need that.
God, I don't like you guys.
Next item is discussion of concept for warrant articles for a business license ordinance. Scott?
Currently, right now, only the code enforcement issues building license. There is no ability to revoke business licenses for unpaid property taxes, which seems to be an issue that was brought to me through the town clerk and the assessors. What I would like to do, there's two options, is one that the ability is either issued by the town clerk and signed off by the fire department and the code office, and then if there's an appeal, it would go to, if there was a denial by the clerk, that the appeal would go to you, or this town of selectmen would issue the building licenses via that way, rather than through the town clerk.
Business licenses.
Business licenses, yes.
You don't want them doing the building
No,
licenses.
no. And the other thing is, I would, to me personally, I'd like to see the exemption for home occupation business licenses that could still go through the code office, because usually there's no contingency with unpaid property taxes or anything like that. They're relatively small, in-house, small area. But to me, I thought it would be, give it a little bit of teeth to bring some in compliant. I mean, there could be other issues, other issues, but other things that could be brought to the ordinance to change it if to be revoked other than that, but that's the main focus of it.
Okay, I'm not clear.
So at this point, essentially, all you're asking at this point is, do we want you to move it forward to
Correct.
the ordinance committee to look at wording in an ordinance?
Yeah,
Which
or-
ultimately then would come back to be, go through
Yes.
public hearing and all that stuff.
Yeah,
All we're doing at this point is saying, yes, continue down the path.
correct.
And that path is to allow you to act appropriately on businesses that are not paying their taxes, or businesses
I think
and
some,
owners of the businesses that are not paying their taxes.
don't the ones that have
What are we
liquor
doing?
licenses, they don't get it if their taxes aren't paid up, am I correct?
Right.
That's not correct. We haven't done
There was
that.
something to do with the liquor licenses, and I'm not sure what,
I think
The
liquor is
state's not
different.
supposed to renew their license.
Yes.
if they're
Yeah.
not.
there you go.
Yeah, but the tax collector had a difficult time getting the state to call her back.
Our town attorney has indicated that there are other towns, he noted Scarborough, there are other towns that are doing this, so I would suggest we look at some models and have the committee come back with a recommendation. But depending on how many of these licenses we might be issuing, administratively, it might be more convenient, in my mind, for you all to have the clerk or some entity within the town administration, check for compliance, make sure everything's, as it should be, and then to issue a license. It would be, or through the code office maybe, but it would be, to me, in most cases, a fait accompli. It wouldn't be anything controversial at all. But then if you had somebody who didn't pay taxes and it was controversial, the appeal authority would be to the board. But that would be just my first reaction, rather than add something, to your agenda administratively that you'd have to, deal with on a continuing basis. I think you would probably ultimately have to deal with non-compliant businesses, but compliant businesses, this should be very simple.
Yes.
Check off, if you will. But that would be just my first idea on it, but I would look at what the town attorney, I don't know if you've seen that yet, he told me he had something, but I haven't seen
He's
it.
done something similar in Scarborough, and said that he would be more than happy to put up a rough draft to see what we
Yeah.
do to the planning board to look at.
I personally like it, I think it's a good thing.
Sue?
I do like it, but it will mean more work.
Right.
Because it would be having a license that expired once a year.
Right.
And having them come back in. One of the other difficulties we have is that the assessing office sends out a declarations form to ask what you have for personal property.
Well-
And getting those back is always an interesting
I
challenge.
guess I don't fully agree with that, because you could still grant a multi-year license. It's just an action that would be taken in the event of
Right.
another event not taking place. So you can still have
It
you can
could
still
be,
have a
yes.
multi-year license. It's just, you have the ability to revoke the license in a certain condition.
Well, and right now, we issue a business license once and we're done.
Yeah.
Right,
And-
But I mean, you could still do that.
Even if you
Yeah,
issued it
that's
for,
true, we could.
you could issue it for a 5-year period, or you could issue it the same way. It's just, you have the ability to revoke it. That's all you're doing, is you'd be granting in the
Yes,
ordinance
we
the
could-
ability
we
to
could word
revoke
it
it. So
that
you,
way.
you wouldn't be adding extra work, because you wouldn't have to revisit it each year, as long as everything is fine.
It'd be revoked for not paying the taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Proceed.
So I would say, yes, continue down the path, and, I mean, obviously, before anything's done, it has to go into, it has to go through the drafting, then it has to go through the reviews, then it's gotta go through public hearing, and then ultimately it's gotta go to town meeting, so we're a ways down the road.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Next item is consideration and appointment of Nathan White as Public Works Director of the Portland Area Comprehensive Transportation System.
He's
John?
Is that
not,
something
Well-
he wants?
he's not here.
He's not here, but I was going
Careful,
to take this over, but Nathan said he's willing to continue. It really has a very, very small impact on the town of Raymond proper. I mean, it has a larger impact, of course, for the suburban Portland community. It's very important to them. That's where the money goes. And I don't know if there's ever been any expenditure directly benefiting us, but so Nathan's willing to continue to serve and attend as he can.
Okay,
Is there a motion?
so moved.
Second. Careful, Scott.
All those in favor? Okay. Next item, consideration of annual policy on treasurer's payroll warrants and account payable warrants. Sue?
This is something that kind of got forgotten when Nancy left, that we have, that annually, we're required by Maine State statute to say how you're going to approve payroll warrants, how you're going to approve accounts payable warrants. So you're going to see this tonight, and then I'll bring it back to you in June again. So it's to catch us up when the oops was noticed.
This appears to just be solidifying the practices that we already
Already
have.
done.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
It's a formality that,
that I understand.
yes.
Okay.
As long as we have our representative here, one of the questions I asked a while back was on the treasurer's warrant. If we can get into a system where we can approve that with e-signatures. And the response I got back is the state does not allow that. So I'm asking if that can be looked into from the standpoint of, I mean, we have moved into the 21st century, and, things like that are done in many different ways. It would certainly make it much simpler on Kathy's standpoint when she puts out the warrant, or especially the off-meeting one, for people to get in there. If we can just review it online and approve it online, it would certainly make life easier. So if
That requires legislative action, is that correct?
that's that's what Sue's telling me, so. Yes.
Hi, Representative Jessica Fay. I live here in Raymond. I represent House District 66, Raymond, Poland, and Casco. So I just want to make sure that I understand the question so that I can take it back and find out why not, and if there's a possible change, and that is e-signatures for select board warrants, or are there other treasurer's warrants?
And accounts payable and payroll warrants.
Well, the payrolls, it's good to have somebody go up and ask.
Oh,
Oh, yes.
that's fine, but, when it's one of those that needs 3 signatures, I mean,
Oh, okay, yeah, and we're doing one right now on payroll.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
So for instance, I know if I'm applying for a mortgage now or something like that, there's an e-signature
Yeah,
company or some way that that signature gets verified through. So you're asking for something
Yeah, because I
along
mean,
those
what we could
lines?
do, you could set up a password area where only, the people can go in there, review it, and then do an e-signature on there. So it's not out, it's not out for the general public to see, but it's just, it's a protected area for us. But, where we can go in, do the approval, and then you don't have to worry about everybody running up to town hall, which just makes it.
Seems like it would make it a lot easier for some of the larger, more rural communities.
Maine prides itself on its use of electronic media and touts its website and all its sophistication compared to the rest of the United States. This has been done this way since the days of the Abe Lincoln, and before. So maybe we could use the crazy internet to do this kind of thing, or email.
We're in a good thought.
Or in the
That's a good
state of
thought.
Maine since 1820.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. You could get some, recognition for this somehow.
Well, I'll look into it and see what I can find out.
They'll give you an electronic kudo.
Yeah, we'll send you a thank you email.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I don't want to interrupt the meeting, but I just want to say, anytime you have an idea or a suggestion or a thought like this, don't hesitate to share it with me.
You got one now, kiddo.
As
Done.
long as you're here, we hit you with it.
Yep.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah,
Thank
but,
you.
as long, so we still have this,
I'm so sorry.
we still have this on the docket, so we need a motion to, approve the annual payroll warrant.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? None? Motion's carried. Consideration of annual general assistance ordinance updates.
Well, we have a state requirement that we look at our general assistance, levels of assistance for basic necessities on an annual basis. You got a couple choices. You can use the Maine Municipal Association survey and general ordinance update that they do, and everybody in Maine uses that, or you can do your own. So we have always utilized the MMA model ordinance. So it basically takes a look at the cost of basic necessities within the Cumberland County suburban, and that's what we are, area, and sets, you know, your GA maximums. Because general assistance, for those watching at home, is a program mandated by the state to help individuals who are suffering from dire levels of income shortage, poverty, and so it tries to balance the need to help people who are in this desperate need with the actual cost of basic necessities within the area in which we live. So annually, we look at this and you certify it. MMA develops it by county and within regions for counties, I think.
And this also is one that normally would come to you in June, so I will be coming to you again probably in June. We found that the state had sent the updates to Alice's email just after she retired. And then as Jenny was getting trained, she found that there were updates, so that's why you have this as well.
Move the updates.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. Consideration of biennial appointment of registrar. Sue, you were,
I don't mind keeping doing it if you still want me to do it.
I don't know, let's think about it, guys. What do you think?
Let's talk in the back for a minute.
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
is there a motion?
So
So moved. Well, second.
All those in favor? Opposed? None?
I'm
Motion's
not making
carried.
motions anymore because he'll just change them. So we just go so moved and he knows what we're talking about.
Hey, RSU 14 withdrawal committee update. Oh, that's me. We're at the point now where the separation agreement, there was just some minor little issues there, so the committee authorized Joe and the attorney to meet with the RSU people to hammer out those final little things and get that squared around. Once we have that back, we'll have our next meeting, approve that separation agreement, and work on the rest of the thing, continue work on the rest of the items that need to be worked on as far as getting things ready to be able to present to the town. Marshall's committee is working on getting the budget done. We're working on getting things squared around as far as what programs and services are desired. So there's a survey that's out on the web right now.
Thank you to Caitlin.
Hmm?
Thank you to
Yeah.
Caitlin.
And so people can go there, put in their opinions on where the things are, what they'd like to see, what they like, what they don't like, so we can kind of integrate all that to come up with an overall approach that way.
Is there a back-end deadline, I should say, to that, so that we can have something to work with at a certain point in time?
I think we should just keep getting them. I think the thing that people are a little bit confused of too, that, I mean, this is, our time is coming, that we have to have things done by July 1st and crunch time. And what the public has to understand is we can present them with something that what we feel is best at the moment, but it's that new school board that comes in that can change it. You know what I mean? So, and so it won't be just the withdrawal committee. You know, it will be that new school board that comes in and having the people to keep pushing them forward, you know,
In
with what they want.
a year and a quarter from now, that happens.
Right, but still,
But-
some of the
but,
comments that we
right.
get.
Well,
you
the
know,
comments we get, you know, I mean, that's, you know, it's valid, but it's also, you know, if, you know, the presentation ultimately goes and people
will be from us.
make a vote on whether they want to go with that, you know, the school board would have a hard time doing a big 180 on something if the people voted and said, okay, we want to withdraw based on this set of things here, here's the draft budget, here's this and this, and here's what the, you know, the plan is, what the animal would look like, you know, but they do have that, you know, they do, you know, it's much the same as this select board can't commit the following select board, because each year, you know,
Right,
you
right.
got their, you know, and one legislature can't commit the next legislature, so, you know, you would hope that, you know, if the people, you know, the people vote, they want certain things done, that that's what's gonna carry forward, so.
Right, okay.
All right. Public comment? Do you wanna say anything else? Okay. Selectmen comment?
It's approaching the time of year where we should consider naming a Spirit of America volunteer winner. So I think we should open it up to possible nominations to be sent in to Don.
Would you, I mean, I don't, we could do that within the board, or would you, I had a crazy idea, and that's probably not something we want to put out to the public, right, in the newsletter?
That's fine.
You
Can we do that?
We can do that.
Yeah, get input from people on who they.
Okay. I started down that road and I was thinking, do we want to do that? Okay, good, we'll do that.
I like our newspaper.
I do too.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, she's doing a great job, and we're getting a lot of favorable comment on it.
Good.
So
Okay.
anyway, to finish that off, we will take a look at the Spirit of America, probably in the March Select Board meeting. We'll choose the appropriate volunteer.
Or group, or whatever.
Or group, yeah.
Other selectmen comments, Teresa?
Nope, good.
Okay. Town manager report.
Well, we first have our confirming of dates for upcoming regular meetings, February 11th, March 10th.
Oh
Those,
my God, March is gonna be crazy.
March 10th. Yeah. March is gonna be a busy month. Because you've got, so we've got March 10th for the regular meeting, the 17th is one of the budget hearings, and the 31st is the other budget hearing.
Well, on the 31st?
Hmm?
31st, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
And
thought we had another one in
also,
here.
There's
the
also the 3rd. So we, with the exception of the 24th, we got something every Tuesday in March.
Okay,
All right?
yep.
Okay.
okay, so reminder of upcoming holiday schedule, and Monday, January 20th is MLK Junior Day. I would like to happily report that the LED streetlights are up and operational, and gotten a lot of good comment about those, and they're definitely bright and energy efficient and directed light, you know, for those who are concerned about the dark skies issue. So nothing but positives on them, and energy savings moving forward. So that's been a successful project so far, I think. The budget, we're getting, you know, into the budget, and so that's always a good time. And we're having
For me,
you know, frequent meetings and trying to get that together. And so we'll be looking forward to meeting with you on that soon. We have, thanks to, in part to our Selectman Sadak, we have a new mechanic. She was
That's
kind
my
enough to.
husband.
Well, your husband,
Yeah.
Ken Sadak. So we're very pleased that we have Matt Carmen started with the town about a week ago, I
week
think,
ago.
roughly. And so he's doing a great job, and so really happy to welcome him on board. And I would also like to recognize the crew. It's winter conditions, as you might have seen, and so they've been very busy, and you know, Nathan's done a good job, and we have a full and healthy crew now, new mechanic, the equipment is all running, and so that's nice. And the trucks we got from Vermont, the new equipment we have. So so far so good. We picked up the schools, as you may know, on a contract, so we're doing that again. So things are going well.
Good. Good.
Okay,
That's-
treasurer's warrant.
yeah.
Oh,
That's it.
nope, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, before I do this, I got a question. So, for the roadside mowing and bush hogging and all that stuff, we pay in November, December, January?
Snow sidewalks.
But it's saying like cemeteries, ball field, 302 corridor. It's all like the same. That's why I wasn't sure. I'll show you, sorry. They're all broken down the same amount, 41.94.
Yeah, I think it's just the way they pay it out, you know, over time.
That's
So
contract,
it
yeah.
evens out the,
Okay.
you know, how they pay it, you know, so it's a,
Nope, just wanted to ask.
but no, we're not mowing,
No?
I don't know, you.
Not bush
how much
hogging
snow you
either.
could.
not bush hogging, but I think it's just the way the payout is structured, probably. I can check into that to confirm, but I'm pretty sure that's what
If
we're
you
doing.
could, I'm
Do
just
we have a
kind of.
contract for that, or is that town employees?
That's a
No, it's-
contract.
That's a contract.
That's why we're
Yeah.
paying, yeah, that's why it's paying.
Okay. You just
Yeah.
look weird going, wait a second.
Yeah,
I know you're not done
that's
with
what-
the
that's
baseball.
what
Well,
that-
you
that's
just-
what that
you flat
IDS
fund across the thing,
Yeah,
so.
that's why it's paid that way.
Which shop and library?
Hmm?
What's the shop and library? Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind. Okay, motion to accept the, treasurer's warrants of $71,456.22.
So moved. For a second?
So
All
speaking,
those-
speaking.
All those in favor?
Speaking of expenditures, you will see at some point expenditures for diagnostic tools for the new mechanics. We had to upgrade some of our, you don't fix everything with a monkey wrench now. You fix things with electronics. So we had to get a laptop.
Wait,
Yeah,
it's
the way
not
you
for the
said that.
mechanic, yes.
No,
The way you said, we,
Yeah.
hope it's not diagnostic tools
No,
for the
no,
new
for the mechanic to utilize,
Diagnostic tools
for the mechanic
for the
to utilize,
to use.
for the mechanic to utilize, sorry, to utilize in diagnosing problems with the truck. And so trucks.
Only Rolf would call that
So
one
anyway,
out.
So, yeah, so we had to buy a laptop and some software and licensing and all that jazz. So hopefully we're going to be avoiding, you know, taking these things to the dealership for diagnostics. So that's exciting too.
That will help.
And we'll be able to hopefully in-house repair, well, I'd definitely be able to repair a lot more than we used to do, which was almost zero in terms of, you know, diagnostics on the big trucks. So that's good news.
That's good news. Good. That's working out. Motion to adjourn?
Second,
Yes, sir.
all
Second.
those in favor?